My name is Daniel Carter. For 20 years, I believed I knew everything about my wife, Melissa. I knew the way she took her coffee every morning. I knew she hated thunderstorms but loved rainy afternoons. I knew she always cried during emotional movies, even when she had watched them 10 times before. I knew her favorite song. I knew the little scar on her left hand came from a childhood accident. I knew the way she smiled when she was truly happy. At least I thought I knew her. Because the hardest thing about being betrayed by someone you love isn't just losing the person. It's realizing that the person you trusted the most was living a life you never knew existed. Melissa and I weren't one of those couples who looked perfect on social media, but secretly hated each other behind closed doors. We were real. We had arguments. We had stressful days. We had moments where we both wondered if marriage was supposed to be this difficult. But we always found our way back. We met when we were 26 years old. I was working as a project supervisor for a construction company, and Melissa had just started her career as an event planner. The first time I saw her, she was standing outside a small coffee shop, trying to balance 3 cups of coffee, a folder full of papers, and her phone that wouldn't stop ringing. One of the cups slipped from her hand and spilled all over the sidewalk. She looked at the mess, sighed, and said, "Perfect. Exactly how I wanted my morning to start." I laughed. She looked at me and smiled. That was the first conversation we ever had. A few months later, we were dating. 2 years after that, we got married. Everyone said we were lucky. And honestly, I believed they were right. We built a life together. We bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood outside the city. It wasn't a mansion, but it was ours. The backyard wasn't huge, but it was where we spent summer evenings grilling burgers while our kids played. Our oldest daughter, Sophie, was 17. She was smart, independent, and already looking at colleges. She had Melissa's confidence and my stubborn personality. Our son, Ethan, was 13. He was obsessed with baseball. He left his shoes everywhere, forgot his homework constantly, and somehow managed to make every room in the house look like a sports store. But he was our boy. Every Friday night was family pizza night. Every Sunday morning, Melissa made pancakes. Ethan would complain that he didn't want to wake up early. Sophie would tell him he was dramatic, and Melissa and I would laugh. Those moments were ordinary. But I later learned that ordinary moments are the ones you miss the most when everything falls apart. For years, I believed I had the kind of marriage people hoped for. Melissa was successful too. She had built a small interior design company that specialized in restaurants and luxury homes. I was proud of her. I supported her when she stayed late working. I celebrated every new client she got. I told everyone I knew that my wife was one of the most talented people I'd ever met. And I meant it. That's why what happened next destroyed me. Because betrayal hurts differently. When it comes from someone you spent your entire life protecting. The morning everything changed started like any other Saturday. Melissa was sitting at the kitchen island, drinking coffee while looking through emails on her laptop. Sophie was getting ready to visit a college campus with her friend's family. Ethan was already outside throwing a baseball against the garage wall. I walked into the kitchen holding my work bag. "I have a meeting for a few hours," I said. Melissa looked up and smiled. "Don't forget we're having dinner tonight." "I know," I said. "Pizza night." She smiled. "After 20 years, you still remember." I walked over and kissed her forehead. "I remember everything about you." Those words would later hurt more than anything, because I remembered everything about her, but she had been hiding everything from me. I left the house around 9:15 in the morning. 20 minutes later, I realized something. My presentation folder, I had left it on my office desk at home. Without it, my meeting was basically ruined. I turned the car around and drove back. When I pulled into the driveway, Melissa's SUV was still there. I thought she had probably stayed home. I walked inside through the garage. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I called out, "Melissa?" No answer. Then I heard something. Her voice. She was outside near the backyard. She sounded different. Not like the woman who talked to me every day. Her voice was softer, almost secretive. I walked toward my office. That's when I noticed her tablet sitting on the kitchen counter. The screen turned on because of a notification. I wasn't trying to read her messages. I wasn't looking for anything. But one sentence appeared right in front of me. And that sentence changed my entire life. "Last night wasn't enough. I already miss you." I froze. For a few seconds, I just stared. My brain refused to understand what my eyes were seeing. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe someone had sent the wrong message. Maybe. Then another message appeared. "I can't stop thinking about your kiss." My hands became cold. I slowly picked up the tablet. I wish I could say I immediately confronted her, but I didn't. Part of me was still trying to protect the woman I loved. I opened the conversation, and within seconds, the truth destroyed every excuse I had created. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a random message. This was a relationship. Months of messages, secret meetings, hotel conversations, lunch dates I thought were business meetings, promises, lies. Then I saw the name. Ryan Mitchell. I knew him. That was the worst part. Ryan wasn't a stranger. He was someone Melissa had introduced me to 6 months earlier. She told me he was a business consultant helping her company grow. I'd shaken his hand. I had invited him to our home. I had thanked him for helping my wife. And all that time, he was the person she was cheating with. I kept scrolling. Then I saw one message that made my chest feel empty. I hate going home and pretending everything is normal. I read that sentence again and again. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was pretending. For months, I heard the back door open. A few seconds later, Melissa walked into the kitchen. She stopped immediately. Her eyes moved from my face to the tablet in my hand. The color disappeared from her face. Neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "Daniel." I looked at her. The woman I had loved for 20 years. The mother of my children. The person I thought would never hurt me. And I said, "Tell me I'm wrong." Her eyes filled with tears. "Daniel, I can explain." I slowly shook my head. "No." She took a step closer. "It's not what you think." I looked down at the tablet. "Then what is it, Melissa?" She had no answer. And in that silence, I knew my marriage was already broken. Melissa stood in front of me, crying silently. For 20 years, I had seen my wife cry many times. I had seen her cry when her father passed away. I had seen her cry when Sophie left for her first school trip. I had seen her cry when Ethan hit his first home run in baseball. But this was different. This time, I wasn't the person comforting her. I was the reason she was afraid. And that realization hurt more than I expected. "Daniel, please," she whispered. "Let me explain." I looked at her. "Explain what?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "Explain why another man is telling you he misses your kisses?" Her face changed. She looked away. That was the moment I knew. There was no misunderstanding, no innocent explanation, no way to fix what I had just seen. "How long?" I asked. Melissa stayed quiet. "How long, Melissa?" She wiped her tears. 8 months. 8 months. The number felt unreal. 8 months of birthdays. 8 months of family dinners. 8 months of her telling me she loved me. 8 months of me believing I was living a happy marriage. "So for 8 months you looked me in the eyes every day and lied?" Her voice became smaller. "I didn't want it to happen." I laughed. Not because anything was funny, because sometimes something hurts so much that your body doesn't know how else to react. "You didn't want it to happen?" I pointed at the tablet. "Melissa, this isn't one mistake. This is hundreds of choices." She looked at me. "I was going to end it." "When?" She didn't answer. "When were you going to end it? After 9 months, a year? After I found out?" "Daniel, that's not fair." I stared at her. "Fair?" My voice stayed calm. "Fair was me trusting my wife. Fair was me believing the woman I married respected me. Fair was my children growing up in a family where their parents were honest with each other." Melissa covered her face. "I'm sorry." I shook my head. "Sorry doesn't erase 8 months." She stepped closer. "I still love you." Those words almost made me angry. Almost. Because part of me wanted to believe them, but another part of me remembered the messages. The secret plans. The lies. "You love me?" I looked at her. "Then how did you do this?" She cried harder. "I don't know. That's the problem." I placed the tablet on the counter. "You don't know because you never stopped to think about what you were destroying?" She sat down on the kitchen chair. For a moment, she looked like the woman I had known for 20 years. And that was the hardest part, because I wasn't looking at a stranger. I was looking at my wife, the mother of my children, the person who had once been my entire world. But love doesn't disappear just because someone hurts you. Sometimes it stays, and that's what makes betrayal so painful. That afternoon was the hardest conversation of my life, because I had to tell our children. I didn't want to. I wanted to protect them. I wanted to pretend everything was normal. But I also knew I couldn't build their future on a lie. Sophie came home first. She walked through the front door carrying a college brochure. "I forgot my charger." Then she stopped. She looked at me. Then Melissa. Then the silence between us. "Dad?" I forced myself to speak. "Sophie, sit down." Her expression changed immediately. "What happened?" Melissa started crying again. Sophie looked at her mother. "Mom?" No answer. I took a deep breath. "Your mother and I are having serious problems." Sophie looked confused. "What kind of problems?" I looked at Melissa. She couldn't say it. So I did. I found out your mother has been seeing someone else. The room became completely silent. Sophie stared at me, then at her mother. What does that mean? Melissa whispered. I'm sorry. Sophie's face changed. She understood. Her eyes filled with disappointment. Mom, I never wanted to hurt you. Sophie shook her head. But you did. Those words broke Melissa. Because they were true. A few minutes later, Ethan walked in from baseball practice. He was smiling. Until he saw everyone's faces. What's going on? Nobody answered. He looked at me. Dad? I sat beside him. Ethan, your mom and I are going through something. Are you getting divorced? The question came so quickly that it shocked me. Kids always understand more than adults think. I looked down. I don't know yet. Ethan looked at Melissa. Did you do something? Melissa started crying. I made a terrible mistake. He didn't understand everything. He was only 13, but he understood enough. Are you leaving? Melissa walked toward him. No, sweetheart. He looked at her. Then why does everyone look sad? Nobody had an answer. Because sometimes there is no sentence that can explain a broken family to a child. That night, Melissa slept in the guest room. I didn't sleep at all. I walked through the house. The same house where we raised our children. The same walls that held 20 years of memories. Family pictures were everywhere. Our wedding photo. Sophie's graduation picture. Ethan's baseball trophies. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. The next morning, I made a decision. I packed a suitcase. Not mine. Hers. Melissa watched me from the bedroom doorway. Daniel. I kept folding her clothes. What are you doing? I placed another shirt inside the suitcase. You need to leave. Her face went pale. What? You heard me. She shook her head. You can't just throw away 20 years. I looked at her. I didn't throw away 20 years. I closed the suitcase. You did. She started crying. I love you. I picked up the suitcase. You love what we built. She looked confused. What does that mean? It means you love this house. You love our family dinners. You love being a wife and a mother. I paused. But you also wanted someone else. She shook her head. No. Yes. My voice became softer. You wanted both lives. She had no answer. I walked downstairs. She followed me. Daniel, please don't do this. I opened the front door. This isn't about revenge. She looked at me. Then what is it? It's about protecting what's left. At that moment, Sophie came downstairs. She saw the suitcase. Her eyes filled with tears. Mom is leaving? I nodded. Melissa looked at our daughter. I love you. Sophie looked away. I know. That hurt Melissa more than anger would have, because disappointment is often louder than shouting. Melissa hugged Ethan before leaving. He cried. Can we fix this? She held him tightly. I wish I could. Then she walked outside. I watched her put the suitcase in her car. The woman who had entered my life 20 years earlier drove away. And for the first time, I was alone in my own house. The next few weeks were painful. Melissa called every day. At first, I didn't answer. Then she started leaving messages. Daniel, please talk to me. I made a mistake. I want my family back. But every time I heard her voice, I remembered those messages. I remembered the lies. 2 weeks later, she came to the house. She stood at the door. I ended it with Ryan. I looked at her. Good. She looked surprised. That's it? What else do you want me to say? I did it because I choose you. I shook my head. No. Her eyes filled with tears. I do choose you, I answered quietly. You should have chosen me before. She looked down. Can we try counseling? No. Daniel, I spent 20 years building trust with you. I paused. You destroyed it in 8 months. She cried. I can fix it. I looked at her. No one can fix something they didn't protect. 3 weeks after Melissa left the house, I filed for divorce. It was one of the hardest decisions I had ever made. Not because I didn't know what I wanted. I knew. The hardest part was accepting that the future I had imagined for 20 years was gone. I had imagined growing old with Melissa. I imagined watching our children get married together. I imagined sitting on a porch somewhere when we were older, laughing about all the difficult moments we survived. But I never imagined sitting in a lawyer's office, signing papers that would officially end our marriage. The strange thing about heartbreak is that sometimes you don't miss the person who hurt you. You miss the person you thought they were. I missed the Melissa from 20 years ago. The woman who held my hand when we had nothing. The woman who celebrated my promotions. The woman who stayed awake with me when our children were sick. I missed that person, but I had to accept something painful. That person had made choices too. When Melissa found out I filed for divorce, she came to my house that evening. I opened the door and immediately saw the sadness in her eyes. "Daniel, please." I stepped aside and let her come in. Not because things were okay, because we still had children together, and I wanted to handle everything with respect. She looked around the living room. The same room where we had celebrated birthdays. The same room where we opened Christmas presents every year. "I never thought I would lose this." I looked at her. "You lost it when you decided another man was worth risking it." She closed her eyes. I know. For the first time, she didn't try to defend herself. "I know I hurt you." I stayed quiet. She continued. "I wake up every morning knowing I destroyed the best thing in my life." I looked away, because hearing her admit it didn't make the pain disappear. "I don't know how to forgive myself," I answered quietly. "That's something you have to figure out." She looked at me. "But what about us?" I took a deep breath. "Melissa, there is no us anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. "You don't love me?" That question was harder than I expected, because the answer wasn't simple. "I do." She looked surprised. "Then why?" I looked at her. "Because love wasn't enough." She stayed silent. "Love didn't stop you from lying. Love didn't stop you from meeting him. Love didn't stop you from coming home and pretending everything was normal." She looked down, and for the first time she understood. The problem wasn't that I stopped loving her. The problem was that I could no longer trust her. The divorce process was surprisingly calm. There were no dramatic fights, no angry court battles, no attempts to destroy each other's lives. I didn't want revenge. Revenge wouldn't give me my marriage back. It wouldn't erase the pain my children felt. It wouldn't change what happened. I just wanted peace. Melissa and I agreed on custody arrangements. Sophie was almost 18 and had already decided she wanted to stay with me while preparing for college. Ethan spent time with both of us. I never told my children to hate their mother. That wasn't my job. Melissa made a mistake as my wife, but she was still their mother. And my children deserved to have a relationship with her. 6 months after Melissa moved out, something unexpected happened. Sophie came into my office one evening. "Dad?" I looked up. "Yeah?" She sat down. "I want to tell you something." "Okay." She took a deep breath. "When this happened, I thought our family was completely destroyed." I listened. "But I've realized something." "What?" She looked at me. "We were pretending everything was perfect before." That sentence surprised me. She continued. "And now at least we are honest." I nodded. She smiled slightly. "I know this hurts you." "It does. But I'm proud of you." I smiled. "Why?" "Because you could have become angry and hateful." She paused. "But you didn't." I looked at my daughter. At that moment, I realized something. My children were watching how I handled pain. And I didn't want to teach them that heartbreak turns people cruel. I wanted to teach them that pain can be survived. A year after the divorce, life started feeling normal again. Not the old normal, a new one. Sophie got accepted into her dream college. Ethan made the school baseball team. I started focusing on myself again. I started going to the gym. I spent more time with friends. I learned how to enjoy quiet evenings. For years, I had been afraid of being alone. But I discovered something. Being alone was better than feeling lonely inside a marriage. Melissa still stayed part of our lives. She went to Ethan's games. She visited Sophie at college. She became a better mother. I could see she was trying, and I respected that. But respect wasn't the same as rebuilding a marriage. One Saturday afternoon, after one of Ethan's baseball games, Melissa walked over to me. "You look happy." I smiled. "I am." She nodded. "I used to think time would change your mind." I looked at her. "It changed a lot of things." She waited. "But not this?" I shook my head. "No." She looked toward the field. "I spent a year hoping you would call. I didn't say anything. I thought one day you would forgive me and we would start over." I looked at her. "I did forgive you." She looked confused. "You did?" "Yes." "Then why can't we try again?" I took a deep breath. "Because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting." She looked down. "I miss my family." "I know." "I miss you." "I know." She looked at me. "Did you ever hate me?" I thought about it. "No." She looked surprised. "No?" I was hurt. I was disappointed. I paused. "But I never hated you." "Why?" "Because hate keeps you connected to someone." I looked toward the baseball field. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life connected to the worst moment of mine. She wiped away a tear. "I really thought you would come back." I know. Why didn't you? I answered honestly. Because I finally chose myself. 2 years after the day I found those messages, I drove past the same road where I had turned around after forgetting my presentation folder. I remembered that morning. I remembered thinking my biggest problem was a missing folder. I had no idea I was about to discover the biggest truth of my life. That one forgotten folder changed everything. It ended my marriage. It broke my family apart. It caused pain I never thought I could survive. But it also forced me to stop living a lie. Today, my life isn't the one I planned. But it's honest. My children are happy. I am happy. And Melissa and I can finally be in the same room without anger. Not because everything is forgotten. Because everything has been accepted. I learned something important. Sometimes losing someone isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's the moment you finally start writing your own. I didn't walk away because I stopped loving my wife. I walked away because I started respecting myself. And after 20 years of marriage, that was the hardest decision I ever made. But it was also the right one. Thank you for watching.